Hi. Hi, guys. Hello. Hi. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Jen. Hi, Carlos. Hi, guys. Hi. Hi there. Oh, that's so interesting. Oh, I see. Interesting. Okay. Hi. Hi, Theo. Hi, James. Hi, guys. Hi. Hi, Charles. How are you today? We have 103 updates today, which is a lot of updates, and I'm going to try to do them as soon as. Yeah, I'm gonna try to do them as efficiently as possible because I had a yes, Carlos, I ate, thank you. I had a longer day today and I came home and I like took a nap from I don't know for a while. And so after the nap it took a while for me to wake up and kind of get here for the lives, so it's my fault. I overslept if you will, and that's why we're here so late today. Completely my fault. I was like walking around and running errands today in the sun, and and I just came home and I was so tired. It was like impossible. Hi, Brandy. Hi, Gary. So yeah, there's for Charles on YouTube, he can see Cindy hanging out there and and just doing what she's doing. There is YouTube has Cine live separately from me live because Cine is just in the background on the daybed, kind of like living her best life. She's been like picking up so many things off the ground, and now then she starts like scratching and itching herself, and I'm just like, I feel bad for you, but also you did this to yourself, young lady. Привіт, привіт, привіт. Привіт з Нью-Йорку. So yeah, my сусіди. So yeah, also I got this thing today. I was at this my one of my favorite stores in the entirety of New York. Like I really like paper goods. Like I really like notebooks. I really like pens. I really like I don't know. I have so many notebooks, so many pens. Also, I have ADHD, so I have like 50 different notebooks for different things. But I found this thing, and it's one of those notebooks. It says 365 days of, and it doesn't say of what. So it's not one of those like, it's not one of those like journals that's like, oh, write down how you're feeling today, write down how this, how that. No, you're not late, I'm late. And so I just liked it because it basically has empty pages, and the pages go like this, like it gives you like day 7, day 8, day 1, day 2, day whatever. And so like I started it from day 100 of the war, and and basically, hi, cool, good to see you here. I'm happy that you're ready for Ukraine briefing. And I decided to make a day, like days of the war, and I decided to start from day 100 and kind of like write down the things that I think are the most important that day that happened, and maybe like some personal, like little personal snippets as well to see how things have changed through the duration of the war. And honestly, I wish that I had found this sooner, and I wish that I had documented it from the very beginning. But, I can't go back and like try to remember my feelings on any specific day. So I might just like do this first page as like a summary of everything that I felt so far and everything that's happened so far, just like a very brief one. And then I'm going to do a daily one for the rest of the war. Hopefully it's not going to last 365 days, but it's a great journal. It looks really, I liked that it was blue and yellow, and I mean I liked that it was blue and it was like the proper Ukraine blue, and then I also got this like yellow pen, and so now the writing in there is blue and yellow, but it's not necessarily even for therapeutic reasons. I think I just want to document what's been going on. And also, this notebook was 50% off. It was the last one on clearance. And I love that because it was very cheap and it's a beautiful notebook. Because it's just really, really, I don't know, it was a very nice find. And I found like a gift for Anastasia there. But so there is this beautiful store. It's called Goods for the Study. And I think there is a couple of locations of it. And it's like my favorite place, and one of my favorite places on the planet, because I just really, really like pens and paper and I don't know, and like envelopes and little things like that. And I got these like different pens and stuff, and these two are my favorite, obviously. But yeah, I think it's just important to remember. I think it's important to remember like the feelings associated with these news, not just the news, because I can look back onto the news for the day and remember what happened the day, but I can never remember my feelings unless I write them down. And so I think it's like it's important. And yeah, also if you guys have a YouTube, not just TikTok, and you can put this stream running in the background somewhere on YouTube, I would highly appreciate that because that gives me watch hours, and watch hours count towards like a lot of stuff on YouTube. It's not just 1,000 followers apparently that you need to have like human rights on this platform. It's apparently also like watch hours. Hi, Tammy. Also, I'm very much waiting on Pamela to make it here because I received an Amazon package today with a light for my gimbal, which would make it much easier to do nighttime shoots because it's a light, and it came from Pamela, and it was on my Amazon wish list. And you guys have been so nice and so sweet and so generous and so kind, and and yeah, and I didn't expect it at all. I didn't see that somebody had purchased it. Вітання з ранкового Львова. Привіт! Я зі Львова також. Як сьогодні Львів? And so I don't know. It was a very big surprise when I was like in my mail room, and there was like this little package, and there was the sweetest little note in here as well, and I'm gonna keep it, and it's going to go into my war diary because you guys are making it possible for me to help my country, and it's genuinely been I'm very, very incredibly thankful to you for providing me with a platform where I can speak for where I can speak for our Ukrainian voices, and where, at least for my Ukrainian voice, and account for as many Ukrainian voices as I can and ask their opinion. And so without you, there wouldn't be this opportunity. And honestly, one of the things that I put out a video the other day, and the video was aimed at Ukrainians. How's your friend who was making the keychains? One second, I'll answer that in a minute. So basically, hi guys, hi YouTube. But basically, I put out a video the other day, and I was asking Ukrainians what they think is the important information that they would want to spread to an English-speaking audience. And one of the things that all of them were saying is that it's very important to do that because they feel like they don't have a lot of control or enough control of their voices. Thank you so much. Of their voices in Western media, and that it makes them really happy that people are willing to listen. And a lot of their advice was very similar. I mean, one of it was basically like the Russian sympathizing that's happening. And thank you for being here. And it's like, I made that video today where I said, why is it wrong to say not all Russians? And some man from, I don't know, the US duetted me and said that I'm crazy and that I'm asking for punishment for Russians, and that my ideas are not good and something like that. Hi, Lauren. And that my ideas are damaging, and that I'm asking people to punish the nation, and that Russians are innocent and it's just their dictator and stuff like that. I'm not asking for punishment. Okay, I'm not asking for punishment. I'm not asking people to hate Russians. I'm not calling for any of that. That's not what the point of the video was. The point of the video was that instead of spending so much time arguing and defending Russians, arguing for Russians and defending them and saying not all Russians, not all this, not all that. Like the good Russians, right? They don't care if the world says that they are. They don't care that if the world says that they are bad. They don't care if the world tells them that they're assholes. They don't care if the world says all Russians, right? Because at the end of the day, they're not here to defend themselves. They're here to do things that'll prove that not all Russians, right? And so I often find Russians arguing with me and being like, well, me and my family, we bought this for the refugees. We bought that for the refugees. You have to admit, not all Russians. I don't have to admit anything. I don't owe you anything. In fact, you have to go do something if you want Ukrainian people to think any different of you. And and it's like upsetting, it's upsetting that people, that there's still that, it's like you are asking for credit for the bare minimum. And the people who perpetuate this narrative of like not all Russians this, not all Russians that, not all Russians that, it's like, we get it. We know that's not what we're saying. Obviously, we're not saying that every single person in Russia is terrible, right? The majority of them are, but the thing is like, instead of wasting hours and days and minutes or even seconds trying to defend Russians, spend that time trying to help Ukrainians. And at the end of the war, we're going to talk about all of this once there are no bombs flying around our cities, right? Or flying into our cities or flying into our homes. And and it's just like the people who are like, Russians don't need or don't deserve credit for being anti-war. Russians don't deserve credit for understanding that what they're doing is wrong. Russians don't deserve credit for admitting that they have been doing this for 300 plus years, because it is, in fact, the bare minimum. I wouldn't even say that Russians deserve credit for standing up, right? Because at the end of the day, like, it's like, it almost feels like every single Russian person, uh, it feels like they're doing us Ukrainians a favor and the world a favor by being against the war and by helping. If they do it with the intention of not all Russians, or if they try to like justify their actions, or they try to like, get out there and be like, well, like, you can't say this, you can't say that. Like, stop it. Why do you care for the credit? It's not about the credit. It's not about you doing these things in order to like show that not everyone is like bad in Russia. It's like, go do these things for your country. Go do these things for your future, for your kids' future, for the world's future, because it is clearly wrong. And like admitting that it's wrong is not making you some sort of like a wow amazing person. It's just like, it just kind of blows my mind that people still have these arguments and that Russians still have these arguments. Like, I don't know, it's kind of crazy to me, or that people are saying like, oh, you are hateful towards all Russians and like blah blah blah, you're such a miserable angry person. Like, I am an angry person. What do you mean? Someone like wrote in one of my comments, and they were like, "You're a miserable, angry person," or something like that. You're just one angry person, and like, they were like giving me an example of Germany, right? And they contradicted themselves. Like when I was like, "Yeah, sure, I agree with you, but this, and that," they contradicted their own statement, and they were like, "Oh, you're just angry. Have a nice day if you like enjoy." Or like, have a nice day if you can enjoy it, as in like, as in, like, that I'm an angry person. And it's like, I'm gonna enjoy my day when my people stop dying by the thousands. That's when I'm going to enjoy my day, you know? And and I am an angry person. You're right. I am angry because people keep defending Russians. And it's really not like, this is not the time to waste time defending this. This is not the time to like waste time trying to look for good Russians or like, argue Ukrainians and what they're saying. Like, God, if you're a good Russian, just like shut up and help. Stop looking for credit. If you're a Western person, like just, God, stop trying to defend Russians. Like, really. And especially like the most, like, it's just not the time. Like, it's really not the time. And then the thing that bothers me the most is when people are like, oh, some Russians are good, especially the ones who are trying to flee the regime. I think I have the biggest issue with the Russians that are good and that understand the issues of their country and they're trying to flee the regime. Because I think personally, and this is like not my right to judge, right? But this is where I have, I guess, like an issue with them. It's not even judgment. It's just more of like, okay, so you see how effed up your country is. You see how everything is screwed up. And instead of staying there and fighting for change, you're just going to run away and live a better life somewhere else. And that's the difference between Russians and Ukrainians. Like, we're going to fight till the last minute. Like, you know how many times I get stupid comments that I don't want to answer? I answer them every single time. I explain to every single person why why this is wrong based on history or why that is wrong based on history. I try to convince every single person that seems to be confused or has like been watching too much Russian propaganda or doesn't know proper things and stuff like that. And it's like I will fight till the end. Ukrainian people whose houses have been burnt down, Ukrainian people who have sat in basements in Mariupol, who are traumatized to the point of no tomorrow, who have been taken out into Europe in order to relieve and alleviate some of their PTSD. They're finding jobs in Europe and they're still saying that they're going to come back to Ukraine to rebuild it. Like, isn't that every like immigrant's dream, right? Is just to get a free pass to move to Europe or to the US? Like, well, technically we have that, right? But none of the Ukrainians who fled want to like move to Europe. It's like the exit polls where 94% of Ukrainians out of the refugees abroad said they're coming back home when it's safe. And they're making money right now in Europe and in the US in order to bring it back to, thank you, Lucy, in order to bring it back to Ukraine, to use it to bring Ukraine back up. And that's the difference. Our country is in shambles and we didn't do it to ourselves. And our people are traumatized. Our people lost their homes, lost their arms, lost their legs, lost their moms, their dads, sisters, husbands, grandfathers, children, families, dogs, cats, lost their lives. And they're not running away. They're not fleeing. Not they're not doing anything like that. They're coming back home because it's important no matter what's going to happen. No matter what's going to happen. Like in 2014, people could have fled Yanukovych's regime and people could have let him take over Ukraine and make it into little mini Russia. But we didn't because we care about our country and we want it to be good. We want our kids and the kids of our like neighbors and the kids of our friends and I don't know, random kids and random people who are Ukrainian to thank you. We want them to have a good life. You don't know every person's circumstances. You're right. I don't know every person's circumstances, but I'm looking at the vast majority of people, and the vast majority of people in Ukraine are fighting for Ukraine and coming back. And that's like national responsibility and that's national outlook. But the vast majority of Russians, those who now understand, like, did you notice that there are more Russians vocal now about the fact that they don't support the war? But where were those Russians before? They didn't care. They care now because it's inevitable that Russia is losing. And now they're scared. And now they need to redeem themselves in front of the world because they fully understand that they need to get the F out unless they want to fight for their country. And unless they want to, like overthrow their dictator. But they only stand up for things when it's comfortable, and when it gets uncomfortable they flee like rats from a sinking ship. So all of these like vocal Russians right now to me sounds like rats fleeing from a sinking ship. Again, I'm speaking about the vast majority. I'm not saying like 100% of them, right? There are people who don't. Like, again, there is this guy that I follow. His name is Pavlik. He's Russian and he speaks two Russians. And like, you know how many times people tell him that he's like a terrible Russian, he's Russian, people like curse him out, like the people who are crazy, who are just like, oh, Russia, bad, you know? Like, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. Because it is not important for him to redeem himself in the eyes of like English speaking people or Americans or Europeans or like Australians or anybody, like, right? Western audiences, right? Or the rest of the world. It's important to him to keep fighting for Russia and to keep fighting for Russia to be better. And the only reason he ran away from Russia a year ago is because he was literally on Putin's hit list. And he was like, I waited out, and I'm more useful if I'm alive than if I'm dead in prison. But he still does all of these things like coordinating protests in Russia. He helps people who are genuinely against the government to be freed. He organizes partisan movements. He works with all of these like legions and stuff like that. As in, like, this kid is actually doing things, but you're not gonna ever know about it. You know why? Because he's doing it in Russian. He's not asking for credit. Because at the end of the day, Russians are not doing us a favor by overthrowing their regime. They're doing themselves a favor, right? It's for them and for their future. So that's why I'm saying, don't follow Russian creators for their opinions on Ukraine. Because no matter how nice they seem, no matter how like against the war they are, no matter what they're doing, every single one of them is like, we need to talk about not all Russians. We need to give credit to Russians who do this. We need to give credit to Russians who do that. It's like, if you're a Russian person and you're on social media and you speak in English, you are not doing it for the right reasons, because Western audiences don't need to know what's going on. It's not going to help. You guys are not going to be able to help within Russia. Change is only going to come from within. So the people who are doing it in English don't have the best intentions. They have the intentions of like, having attention on themselves, getting pity, I don't know, spreading like information about Russia itself, right? But that's the thing. Any information about Russia and what's happening in Russia and how they're being censored and how this and that, this is all just taking away from the real problem of people who are dying in Ukraine at the hands of these Russians. And realistically, if these people wanted to make change, they would get off English speaking social media and get on to Russian speaking social media and actually try to make a change from within, right? And that's why I'm saying these things. I'm not saying these things because I think Russians are bad or I'm anti Russian or like whatever. No, it's just that I keep seeing these people on social media who are Russian who just want credit, who just want credit for being a good Russian. And then some of them are not talking about Ukraine or the war, they're just talking about Russia and what's happening within Russia, which, if you are curious about Russia, and you're curious, you like Russia, you're interested in knowing what's going on in Russia, you're interested in knowing how people are suffering in Russia, you're interested in knowing all these repressions and how bad they feel and stuff like that, then Heroyam Slava, then go and follow these people, sure, for Russia, but don't follow them for their opinions on Ukraine. It's like asking an abuser what on their side of the events about the victim. It's like, if you know that somebody had if you know that like a person has beat the other person half to death, it's like being like, oh, but I want to see their take on what happened. You know, like it's not it's not, that's not it. That's just not it. You know, like, we don't need Russian representation. We don't need Russian people speaking for us. We don't need Russian people speaking out on our behalf. We don't need Russian people being like, oh yes, we support them. How are you supporting us? You know, like, yes, giving clothes to refugees is nice. Doing this is nice. Stop asking for credit for it. Just go do it. And also, this is not enough, unfortunately. Because as a nation, it's your collective responsibility to A, stop this war because you're watching us die at your hands, and B, if you want to, then go make a change for you and your future. Stop fleeing your country. And all of the people who are saying, Russia is a dictatorship, it's a regime, people are scared, they're fleeing the regime, not an excuse. Ukrainians had that in 2014. We died. 100 people died at Maidan. 100 people died at the hands of politicians, basically, who sent police to come beat them up with batons and come shoot them and come literally murder them. And you know what people And you know what people keep doing? People keep people you know what people kept doing? They stood there until the last minute, until they defeated the monster, until they got what they wanted and the government fled, until we took our country back to us. Those people didn't flee. Even people from Donetsk who fled Russian occupation, they didn't flee outside of the country, they fled within Ukraine to Ukrainian controlled territories. And every single person that I've spoken to who's from Donetsk and that I've seen on social media who's from Donetsk, Donetsk is being bombed by Russians right now. These people want to come back to Donetsk because it's their city and they want to rebuild it and they want to make it beautiful and they want to bring it back. That's the difference. And so saying that Russians can't do anything, Russians can't overthrow their dictator, Russians, like, you don't know every person's circumstances. Well, like, you didn't know every person's circumstances who was on Maidan. But you know, the majority of the country was on Maidan. And the majority of the country was fighting. And they were being killed and they were regular civilians. And they stepped out of their comfort zone and they gave their life knowing that they most likely will die for the future of the next generations, for the future of our country, for freedom of our country, for freedom of speech, for our constitutional principles, for the fact that Ukraine is free and Ukraine is Ukrainian. And they died for that. And they went to death. So when someone says like, oh, people are getting killed in Russia for protesting, people are getting like beaten up in Russia for protesting, oh, people people are put behind the bars for 14 days, 14 hours, like, well, but that's what it takes. That's what it takes to be free. That's what it takes to overthrow a government. And here is the thing, Russians can't do anything. It's a country of 140 fucking million people. You want to tell me that if even, I don't know, 60 million of those stood up against the government would have a freaking chance? They elected that government. You know what I'm saying? The government can't stand up against 60 million people. Would you fight if you lived in Ukraine? No, I would not fight because I don't have military training. I don't have military training. I would actually be, first of all, I would not be useful, right? Like those people who volunteer to fight, they're still in training. Also, I'm not physically fit enough to fight. It would take 3 times as long to train me than most of the men and women who volunteered to fight. I have really bad knees. I can't run anymore, right? So it's like I would be an inconvenience in the battlefield, and if anything, I would cause more problems than do good. But what I will do once I get my travel permit, which I keep talking about, is that I'm gonna go to Lviv, and I would love to do what's in my power to do. I want to help with humanitarian aid. I want to help with things. But we're all doing our part. We are all doing our part. I'm talking for my dad who decided to stay and fight, yet he has permanent residency in Poland. He could have fled. My mom could have fled. She's a woman. She can cross the border, no problem. She stayed in Ukraine. My entire family could have fled, except for my dad. Well, my dad could have fled the first days of the war, and he consciously made the choice not to because he said, I'm going to stay and I'm going to fight for my country. And here's the thing, every single citizen is doing what they can, what's in their best power to do. And in my best power to do, because I can't leave the US, physically can't, literally physically cannot leave the US right now. I will be going to Ukraine and I have a driver's license. Do I mind driving to hotspots delivering humanitarian aid? I will. I'm sorry to hear that you have a chronic illness, but also most likely you would not be accepted into the Ukrainian military for that reason, because you would be an inconvenience on the battlefield and you would be, unfortunately, taken out right away. Because they're not just taking people and they're not just throwing bodies at the war. That's what Russia is doing. They're training people. And if you're unfit for the military, they're not going to take you because there is no point in sending people to simply die. That's not what Ukraine is doing. We don't need bodies. We need people who can be trained to actually help. So it's like all of these arguments about, oh, I would do this, I would do that. Well, yeah, that's what. Well, like, I mean, hey, if I was in Lviv and Russians came in, and they were like trying to overtake Lviv, like, fuck yeah, I would take a gun and I would stand there and I would be defending it. Like, I wouldn't be fleeing, I wouldn't be running away, but I wouldn't voluntarily go into the military because, again, I would be an inconvenience for the military. And like, it's not an argument saying like, oh, you're speaking for everybody else. I'm not speaking for everybody else. I'm speaking for myself and for my country because I am doing what I can to overthrow to help Ukraine. I wasn't in Ukraine, unfortunately, in 2014 when Maidan was going on because I was in college in the United States. But had it happened when I was there, I would be in Kyiv. And I would be one of those students protesting because it's my future and it's future of like of people's children. I don't even want my own children, but I care about children that are coming to this world. And what do you mean you're speaking for everybody else? I'm speaking for the majority of my country who's showing you with their actions. 70,000 Ukrainians, sorry, 700,000 Ukrainians volunteered for the army. With active troops and inactive troops that are now that are preparing that are getting being trained right now, we have 700,000 manpower right now, voluntary manpower. You know what Russia doesn't have? Russia doesn't have even 1% of their people standing up to the government. Do you see the major difference? Do you see the major difference between that? Yeah, see, this is like the funny thing because I've never wanted children. Like, I've never wanted children, and now, like, someone said, like, Mox said, wait, you don't want kids, we need to repopulate the homeland, though. Like, see, this is the funny thing because yeah, trust me, this is the existential crisis that I'm having, okay? This is the existential crisis. Like, I feel like my parents deserve grandchildren, and yeah, yes, I am stuck in that process, in the green card process. Um, but it should be like according to my like USCIS tracker or whatever, it should be any day now. Um, it should be any day now, and the second that I get a travel permit, like you trust me, I'm gonna buy a ticket to Warsaw, and then I'm gonna buy a ticket from Warsaw to Lviv because you can't like I can't fly straight into Ukraine. But yeah, this is like the identity crisis that I have right now because I don't want children. It's not even that I don't want children. I'm not interested in being pregnant. Like, I have a lot of issues with having children because I just don't think I should because I don't necessarily want them. But I do feel like my parents deserve grandkids, and I do feel like I don't know. I feel like Ukrainian people have been being murdered, and I know that Ukrainians have been being destroyed through generations, and I feel like there needs to, like some like twisted way, like, yeah, I would like to repopulate the homeland. Abortion should still be legal, and that bill is insane, but or that like petition is insane. Screw that. But but I am definitely, I've always considered adopting, and now I'm considering it even more. I can't adopt right now because like, hey, I'm barely taking care of myself, but in the future, probably yes. um but yeah, anyways, point is I'm never going to be pregnant. I never am willing to be pregnant myself, but any other means of having children potentially, and I would rather adopt because there are going to be a lot of Ukrainian kids who are going to need parents, and also a lot of them are going to be at an age that people don't want to adopt by the time that I'm ready to adopt. So I would probably do that. And then somebody asked about Yuri and keychains. So one of them was delivered already. Uh, the other two or three, I think, are on the way, and he said he would give me a tracking number for them. Then another two were accidentally sent to the same person. So they sent them back to me, and I'm waiting for them to arrive here so I can send them to you guys. And then some of them still haven't been sent out. But update on drones is that they have bought so many drones. Um, after the donations like poured in, but also I wanted to say, speaking of drones, so my dad was testing something out today with the creators of that thing, and I'm gonna ask him once he wakes up what he thought about it, because basically Ukrainians, it turns out, have an ability to manufacture combat drones. They're not really combat drones. There are people. Yeah, yeah. They got a ton of drones. They got so many drones. Donations like poured in. They got so many drones. You can go on their website. It's dronesforukraine.fund, and they made their website, like they upgraded their website, and now you can see like a lot more photos of like drones being given to the military. You can see a lot more photos of their progress and stuff like that. So yes, cargo drop drones, yes. So basically there is this Ukrainian company in the western Ukraine, I'm not going to say where, that has been making like cargo drop drones basically to fertilize fields, and those machines are like huge and they can carry like large weights and stuff like that, and they realized that they could repurpose them to like drop like grenades onto like Russian tanks. And so they're testing that out, and as far as I know, my dad was supposed to like see or like witness a test of that. And so, if these things work, and if these things are efficient, and if they can be used for the purposes for which they're trying to use them, I'm going to do it. So my mom had sent me the Russian Worship Go F Yourself stamp sheet, and I am going to do a giveaway fundraiser the same way as we did with keychains, which is going to be 6 stamps and 6 winners, and I will be trying to raise as much money as possible for those drones, to manufacture those drones. I don't know how much they cost. I think because Ukraine is manufacturing them, it's probably going to be cheaper than like buying commercial drones and stuff like that. But I will. This is 100% a fundraiser that I will be doing, and I will be basically like auctioning. It's going to be like the same way as the keychains. I'm going to be auctioning those off, except it's a sheet of 6. So it's going to be 6 people who will get a stamp. So 6 different winners. And I'm thinking it would be the same way, like a stamp per $1,000 of donations. And hopefully we can raise a decent amount of money to be able to manufacture those drones. So yeah. So hi, Kat. So yeah, that's where I'm at. And for those of you who are subscribed, who got the book? Yes. Oh my gosh, I forgot. So there was a giveaway that we all at this point forgot about, and it was the Ukrainer book. And Bridget from Queensland, Australia, is the person that I have chosen to receive this book. Her reasoning for why she wants the book was because she's teaching her kids Ukrainian, and she wants to show them Ukraine. And then she wants to give this book to her kids' school so other kids in the school can learn about Ukraine. And I think that answer resonated very much with me. And so I handpicked somebody to receive that book, which is why I asked why you want it, right? And it's not like anyone's answer was right or wrong. It's just that I don't know. I felt very much like compelled by that argument, and I would love for kids in Australia to have access to that book in their school. And so I'm going to be sending it to Bridget sometime next week, and I'm really happy that I already messaged Bridget. She knows that this is happening, and I'm really happy that that yeah that happened. I'm really happy that that happened. That was an interesting interpretation. But yeah, so this is what's going on. And then what else was there? Oh, so for those of you who are on Patreon, I know that I normally make my streams. I know that I usually save these YouTube lives for Patreon only, where you can rewatch them, but I'm gonna ask your permission to put this one on YouTube as public because I think that the first, how long has it been? Like 40 minutes of this live were spent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Were spent talking about very important things that I would like a lot of people to hear. Yeah, 70% of Severodonetsk was reclaimed, and that's why Putin bombed Kiev this morning. And I mean, it shows their weakness. It definitely shows their weakness because Putin is raging. Thank you so much, guys. And then yeah, so as per usual, if you are able to sign up for my Oh, hi Montreal. That's amazing. Thank you for accepting our people. Mila, I've spoken to her today. She seems okay. She's just like she's a little tired as far as I know. I don't want to speak for her, but I know that she's been going through some like health things that she just probably wants to take care of, and she's just tired and she's probably taking a break. But yeah, what I was gonna say is if you have an ability to sign up for my Patreon, please do. It really does help me, and I'm doing this full time now, and I know it's a conscious choice, and I'm trying to do everything in order to turn it into something that I can also make money with in the meanwhile, because I'd love to take as much time as possible to dedicate to building the foundation in Ukraine, to doing things to I want to help my country. And to someone who was asking if I would move back to Ukraine, unfortunately, I have built 11 years worth of life here, and I'm not going to be moving back to Ukraine because there is a lot going on in my life here. But what I will be doing is what I will be doing 100% is I will be investing money back into my country. I will be helping rebuild. I will be helping businesses. One of the things that I have vowed to do this year is instead of buying clothes or like, I don't know, home things or like whatever I can from like random brands in America or anywhere else, I will be buying it from Ukrainian brands like clothing and I don't know, everything that I can buy from Ukraine, I'm going to buy from Ukraine instead in order to invest back into my country and its development. I'm going to be working in the foundation with Yulia and Max, and I'm going to be working on spreading awareness about Ukraine. I'm going to be working on rebuilding Ukraine. So basically, everything that I'm going to be doing, I'm still going to invest back into my country. And fortunately, with the field in which I'm at, whenever I do start working again, I can make a much larger amount of money here than I could in Ukraine in that same field. And I could just simply have more resources to invest back into my home country if I stay here and work here. Right. And also because, like, well, my life is here and you all know why my life is here, you know? Um, but with that said, I really want to be able to visit Ukraine as much as possible in the future. And I want to be able to see my parents as much as possible. I want to be able to help with humanitarian aid as much as possible. And it's just, it is what it is. Yeah. So if you have an ability to sign up to my Patreon, the cheapest subscription is $10 a month, and you have access to all of the live replays and a lot of other stuff. I try to post cute pictures of Cine and give you a little bit more of an insight to my life. You always have the first updates about things as they're happening, and every $10 goes a very, 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 very long way for me. And I do really appreciate every single one of you for subscribing to Patreon. So please consider adding me as your Netflix subscription if you can, because basically $10 a month is the same as subscribing to Hulu or Netflix. And if you do enjoy watching me every evening, then please consider doing that, because it really does add up and it really does help, and it helps tremendously. And I would be incredibly appreciative if you were able to do that if you have an opportunity to do so. My Patreon is Yulia as well, and it's in my link in bio, just like everything else. Basically, every single question that you have is probably can be answered in my link in bio. So if you have the ability to do so, please do, and I'm going to be really, 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 really grateful for that. If you'd like to shop Ukrainian, there is a section on my website that's literally called Shop Ukrainian, and it's at yulia.com. And yeah, and now let me drink some water, and I am going to deep dive into the news. Thank you. Air Defense Forces shot down an enemy missile over the Obuchiv district in Kyiv region. There are no casualties or destruction. More information will be released later. Also, my YouTube is connected. If you would like to sign up to my YouTube, that would be highly appreciated as well, because that you can watch the lives of the historian that are going to be going on every Saturday at 2 p.m. EST for at least 5 Saturdays in a row, and it's going to touch all of the hot topics about Ukraine. And you can access my YouTube either through link in bio or on my profile. On my profile, underneath my profile picture on TikTok, there is a button that looks like the YouTube play button, and that's how you can press it. Yeah, 5 Saturdays in a row, an hour of Ukrainian history, and 30 minutes Q&A sessions. And it's going to be Crimea first, then Donetsk, Donbass history second, like Cossacks and everything that came in there. It's going to be Kiev and Rus and all of the Russian history rewriting in Moscovia, and then thank you, Charles, and then Soviet Union and Ukrainian genocides and stuff like that. And then it's going to be thank you, and then it's going to be one about Bandera and like the nationalist movements in Ukraine and stuff like that, and why calling them Nazism is simply wrong and uninformed. Thank you for subscribing to YouTube. And the fifth one is going to be, well, we'll see what you guys are most interested in through these lives. So there's going to be a couple of them, at least, and then, yeah, and that's about it pretty much. And so then, I don't know, there was another question. Who is the historian? The historian is my former school history teacher, and she is a very decorated Ukrainian historian. She has been internationally accredited through conferences and panels and stuff like that, as in like she's been doing a lot of, she goes to like, history conferences all the time. She takes like certification courses all the time in Europe and in the US and stuff like that, as in like not physically being in the US. And she is, oh, my phone overheated, which is crazy. Oh, wow. That is so weird. That is crazy. My phone overheated. And it's just, well, what the heck? That's so weird. It's been doing that lately. It's so hot. That's crazy. Okay. Well, let's see what I can do about that. Battery going bad will overheat. Yeah, it's probably, well, honestly, it's probably because of how much I've been using my phone for social media, you know? Oh, here. Hi. My phone overheated. My phone overheated and basically it just like died. But it's now back on. Yeah, I know. It was frozen because my battery overheated. I think I've been like using my phone so much in the past couple of months that it's just not like it's basically not able to sustain itself. Okay, but so I don't even know where I was. Yeah, 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 I am. Thank you, Charles. I don't know where I was at with this, but we're gonna deep dive back into into the news about Ukraine, and yeah, because I've already spoke. I was supposed to like do this efficiently so I can figure out a couple of things before bed. Um, reduce function modes. I don't know. Maybe battery. I can do like I can do battery preservation mode is what I can do. Okay. And yeah, I don't know if Pamela is here. She probably isn't, but I'm gonna just thank her again for getting the lights, the magnetic lights for my gimbal because it really and the note is really sweet from her, and it's really gonna help with nighttime or evening time or low light situation recording. Oh, hi, Pamela. Hi, thank you so much. Thank you for getting that. Honestly, it was one of like the things that I knew that it was one of the things that I kind of wanted the most because it's really helpful. And I didn't even see that somebody had like gotten it. And then I was walking Cine and I saw like there was a box in my hallway and I took it to put it in my mailroom so like it doesn't get stolen or something. And I was like, wait, there's my apartment number on it. And it's thank you so much, I really appreciate it. And I was like, wait, who, what, I wasn't expecting any packages. And that was very very sweet, thank you so much. I actually have it. I have it. This is I have it on my gimbal right now, but I'm not like I have enough light in this particular setup. But outside and stuff like that, it helps a lot. It has so many different modes. See, like this is here. It's really useful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Um, okay. Okay. The advisor to the head of the president's office, Serhiy Leshchenko, attacks in Kyiv were carried out on the objects of Ukrainian railways, Ukrzaliznytsia. Russians have been trying to bomb in Ukraine, so logistics places in Ukraine, so they are, you know, in order to prevent like weapon supplies and stuff like that. Russians shelled Azot plant in Severodonetsk, police and post office buildings in Lysychansk, head of Luhansk army, Serhiy Haidai. A woman was unalived. Mm, did I get frozen on TikTok? Did I get frozen on TikTok? Someone? Because I feel like comments got frozen. Oh, okay. Oh, for someone it says that I have. Okay. Back. Okay. All right. Thank you. A woman was unalived by Russian shelling in Lysychansk. Two men were wounded. Uh, Two men were wounded. Meanwhile, three residents of the area were evacuated. On June 4th, the Russians fired on Severodonetsk, Lysychansk, Ustynovka, Vrubovka, and Tushkova from cannon artillery and MLRS. Portable water once every 2 days. Advisor to the mayor of Mariupol, Petro Andrushenko, talks about life in the temporarily occupied city. Now you need to sign up in a queue to get drinking water. The queue is 2 days. That is now portable water is at best once every 2 days. The main reason is the drop in the water level in natural sources of water intake. They predict a further reduction in water supplies for natural reasons, summer heat, Andrushenko notes. Humanitarian aid from the invaders has already been reduced. Now it is given exclusively to people of retirement age. All the rest get it only through work. then practice of eating for work has resumed. Young people are forced to sign up for teams and help mobile patrols, including infiltration measures. For refusal, they threaten with mobilization into the DPR army. Mariupol is being deliberately and systematically turned into a ghetto for Ukrainians, summed up the mayor's advisor. Today, June 5th at 5:30 a.m., a Russian cruise missile similar to a Caliber type missile flew critically low over the South Ukrainian nuclear power plant, Enerhoatom. Probably this rocket was fired towards Kyiv, where explosions were heard this morning. It was extremely. See, this is another point, right? A lot of people say that they don't understand why Ukraine is getting so much attention or more attention than other wars have. Every war is awful. Every single war is awful, but this is a world war because if Putin gets Ukraine, he's going to go further and he's going to keep going and going further. And we are in World War III already. It's just not active anywhere but Ukraine. And that's why it's so important to not let Putin succeed in Ukraine. And it is everybody's business what's happening in Ukraine because today it's Ukraine, tomorrow is any other country. And if he attacks a NATO country, then it's going to concern every single other NATO country, which means the US and Canada and everybody else. And it's going to concern every single European citizen. So it is a big deal. And Ukraine is not a nuclear power in that we have nukes. Ukraine is a nuclear power in that we have a lot of nuclear power plants. And we have 14, I believe that was nuclear reactors, including Chernobyl, or not including Chernobyl. We have 5 nuclear power plants, including Chernobyl. And they are, they're secured against bombing and shelling, but it's not 100%. Nothing is 100%. You can secure a nuclear power plant 100%. And today, there was a cruise missile that flew critically low over the nuclear power plant in Mykolaiv. And that's problematic because if anything happened to that power plant, the whole world would suffer. Advisor to the head of the president office, Mikhailo Podolyak, commented on today's missile strikes on Kyiv. While someone asks not to humiliate Russia, the Kremlin resorts to new insidious attacks. Today's rocket attacks on Kyiv have only one goal: to kill as many Ukrainians as possible. Every such act of terrorism must receive a tough response from European capitals. New sanctions, more weapons, he tweeted. To any I haven't heard from Zena on TikTok because Zena and I are not in touch. I know who Zena is. I like her as a creator. I've watched her lives a lot of times, but we're not in touch. Like, I don't know her personally. She, I don't think, knows that I exist in general. So I don't know. Yeah, 15 reactors, 6 locations. Okay, yeah, so 6 nuclear power plants. 6 nuclear power plants, including Chernobyl, and 15 reactors in total. Yes. Okay. Привіт, дуже дякую. Sorry, I'm like, sometimes gotta brush up on that because so much information in my head. But so to all of the world leaders who are saying not to humiliate Russia, talk to Russia, do things with Russia, reintegrate Russia, it's like, okay, Macron, I understand that Putin has compromising information on you, and there has to be either something he's blackmailing you with or that you were making the majority of your income through Russia, okay? Because no conscious human being would be saying these things, clearly. Because what do you mean not to humiliate Russia? You're humiliating yourself by saying that, and Russia has humiliated itself more than anybody ever could. And you are basically saying, hey, we understand that this person is a serial killer, but you know what? Let's work on reintegrating them back into society because they make us a lot of money. No, absolutely not. Work on putting Russia in its place. I agree with Kuleba, and nobody could have ever said it better. Like, are you kidding me? Second thing, Scholz. Same to him. But with Scholz, well, I understand the problem. To all of the Germans that might be here, I'm sorry for what I'm about to say, but Angela Merkel ruined your country by the end of her prime minister term. She closed all of the nuclear power plants, so you have no way of getting power. Your entire economy is dependent on Russia, and well, that's why Scholz is he's freaking out so much because what's going to happen? He can't do business with Russia, right? And that's why he's grasping at straws because he needs Russia because the entirety of German economy right now is heavily dependent on Russia. And so that's why he's acting the way he's acting. Germany doesn't have good military. Their military is garbage right now. So basically, all of these factors combined, Scholz knows that it's trouble that his country is so dependent on Russia and he needs Russia. And if he can't get up from his couch and he's going to actually need to start doing something in order to bring Germany back to a self-sufficient place. And so that's why Scholz is acting the way he's acting. Macron is like, dude, I don't know what Putin has on you. I genuinely don't. But like, whatever it is, it's really not worth it, man. And my dad was saying that apparently there are rumors that there has been an international commission made in order to investigate the politicians who have been Russia supportive and who have been giving so much resistance to properly so much resistance to justice for Ukraine and giving up Russia, right? Because they believe that those politicians either have some corrupt intentions or Putin has something on them, or there is some crazy, there's some Russian ties and connections. And so apparently those politicians are being investigated behind the scenes. So we're about to hear some really crazy stuff. Well, Hungary is not hiding their connection to Russia, but Macron is, Scholz is, all of these politicians, Austria is. So it's these politicians, basically, they're investigating what is it that Russia has over them because they have to have something, right? And so there's probably going to be quite a few political scandals in Europe in the coming weeks and months. So let's see. Anyways, at night, the invaders also fired rockets at Slavyansk in the Donetsk region. The night passed restlessly. Several towns in the Donetsk region were shelled, including Slavyansk. Missiles flew into non-residential sector. Therefore, there are no victims and no destruction, said Vadim Lyakh, the mayor of Slavyansk. Map of the war in Ukraine at June 5th. The most difficult battles are in Severodonetsk and in the Bakhmut direction. Kyiv was fired at from Tu-95 aircraft from the Caspian Sea. This morning, the enemy fired several rockets in the direction of Kyiv. At about 6 a.m., servicemen of the Anti-Aircraft Missile Forces unit of the Air Command Center discovered them and fired at them. One cruise missile was destroyed. According to preliminary data, the Russian invaders launched missiles from Tu-95 aircraft from the Caspian Sea. Also, if my friend's story is still up, I have a friend who lives in Kyiv in one of the neighborhoods that's close to where the missiles have hit, and I will show you his story because it's much more productive than showing you stories from from just in general the internet. Okay. This is a view from his window. Yeah. Yeah. Putin started the day with threats against Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin made several statements on Russian TV regarding Ukraine and arms supplies. The US supply of missile systems to Ukraine is connected with replenishing the losses of Ukrainian military equipment and does not change anything in essence. Additional arms deliveries have only one goal: to drag out the armed conflict as far as possible. If the West starts supplying Ukraine with longer range missiles, the Russian Federation will draw conclusions and strike at those objects that it has not yet touched. Like, first of all, they're running out of ammunition. They're running out of missiles, and the reason why they're not shelling everything, like everything outright, like they were doing in the beginning, is because they simply freaking can't afford to. Like, they don't have any more, like, they physically don't have any more missiles, so now they have to, like, think of where they're sending their missiles. So these threats are empty. This man barely has any missiles left, and the ones that he has left are super expensive. They're like the $1 million ones. They're not the garbage that they have been sending to Ukraine before. So it's like, I don't know why he's still sitting there so full of himself, because he lost the war, strategically and otherwise. He lost literally his entire army, if you can call it that. He lost all of his supplies. He lost all of his equipment for the army. He is the laughing stock of the world. Nobody takes him or Russia seriously anymore. And he's sitting there in his chair being like, "We are going to strike and we are going to give you a response that you have never seen before." Like, what kind of a response? Like, are you going to flip us off? Because at this point, like, that's the only, like, that's what you have left. All you have left is just sit there like an idiot and flip us off, you know? Like, God, like the freaking, like, the self, this man is so self-absorbed. Yes, most of their parts are made in France, which also makes me feel like we don't even know the capacity to which France and Russia have been having a partnership through Macron, because it looks like most of their electronics that go into their warfare gear are made in France. Yeah. And it's like funny to me that this man is so full of himself. Meanwhile, he has literally nothing to show for himself anymore. And it's like, have you noticed that even China literally doesn't openly support Russia anymore? They don't openly support Ukraine. They're very strategic, Their China does what's most convenient for China, but they don't support Russia anymore. You know why? Because they've realized that, like, wow, this is embarrassing. This is genuinely embarrassing. And they can't, there is nothing that Russia can give them, There is no use that they can have of Russia. Anyways, sorry, I digress. Zelensky published another section of photos in the 102nd day of the war. The inevitability of punishment is in the principle that Ukraine will teach the Russian state. But first of all, we must teach her on the battlefield that Ukraine will not be conquered, that our people will not surrender, and our children will not become the property of the invaders. Over the last 24 hours, Ukrainian forces have counterattacked in the contested city of Severodonetsk in eastern Ukraine, likely blunting the operational momentum Russian forces previously gained through concentrating combat units and firepower. Russian forces committed in this area include personnel mobilized from the reserve of the Russian-led separatist forces of the self-declared Luhansk People's Republic. These troops are poorly equipped and trained and lack heavy equipment in comparison to regular Russian units. The use of proxy infantry forces for urban clearance operations is a Russian tactic previously observed in Syria, where Russia employed V Corps of the Syrian army to assault urban areas. This approach likely indicates a desire to limit casualties suffered by regular Russian forces. The Russian army advanced southeast of Izum, capturing the village of Pasika and reportedly regaining control of the settlement of Dovhenke. Yeah, I agree with you, Fire Truck. Um, Uh, Also, apparently, the invaders took control of the territory around the Liman to the banks of the Seversky Donets River after capturing two settlements, Staray Karaman and Brusovka. Note that this information has not yet been confirmed by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. This is an impressive photo showing the morning in Kyiv today. More than 729 children became victims in Ukraine as a result of full scale armed aggression of the Russian Federation. According to official information from juvenile prosecutors, 262 children were unalived and more than 467 were injured. On June 3rd, as a result of an enemy shell hitting a house in the town of Horna, Severodonetsk district, Luhansk region, a 13-year-old boy received injuries incompatible with life. During the fixation of war crimes, it became known about the wounding of two children in the Volnovakha district of the Donetsk region. Due to the constant bombing and shelling of Ukrainian cities and villages by the armed forces of the Russian Federation, 1,938 educational institutions were damaged. At the same time, 182 of them were completely destroyed. Spain is going to transfer Leopard tanks and air defense systems to Ukraine. Russian invaders deliberately destroyed the humanitarian headquarters in Lysychansk. Head of Luhansk Army Serhiy Haidai. About 30 hits on the headquarters building completely destroyed it. The fire continues to this day. Fortunately, people are alive, said the head of the region. Here's what that looks like. Hi, Ricky. It's not a monastery. It's the headquarters. It's the humanitarian headquarters in Lysychansk. Also, I'm going to mute YouTube for a second because for like just 1 second because unless you guys don't mind the garbage truck in the background, or rather, I'm gonna wait 2 seconds before I speak because I know that there is a garbage truck in the background and it's really loud. Okay, it's gone. Thank God. A garbage truck is so annoying. Like, what the hell? Okay. Verkhovna Rada Speaker Ruslan Stefanchuk commented on the words of Hungarian Parliament Speaker Laszlo Kever, who said that criticism of President Volodymyr Zelensky against Hungary, in his opinion, indicates psychological problems of the Ukrainian head of state. Okay. Kever does not remember the leader of a country in need of help raising his voice against someone, as Zelensky does, addressing not only official Budapest, but also, for example, the German Chancellor. In response, Stefanchuk noted that the whole democratic world is watching with surprise and incomprehension, not the statements of President Zelensky, but the position of Hungary, which persistently continues to insult Ukraine and whiten Russia. Zelensky's Vyshyvanka embroidered shirt was sold for 100,000 at a charity auction in Washington. The president of Ukraine wore it on May 19th, the Vyshyvanka Day. The buyer was the law firm Astor's USA. The auction took place on Friday, June 3rd, as a part of the presentation of the United 24 program at the Ukrainian House in Washington. This is the Vyshyvanka. Details of rocket strikes in Kyiv. Head of Ukrzaliznytsia Alexander Kamyshin said that 4 missiles hit the Darnitsa car repair plant. Um, One railway worker was injured. Commission denied the information of the Russian military that tanks were being repaired at the plant. The general staff of the ZSU AFU noted that in total in Kyiv, Russia released 5 X-22 cruise missiles, one of which was welcome to New York. One of which was destroyed by air defense units. According to preliminary information, there are no victims as a result of enemy's missile strike. The resulting fires are localized. Which color? Which color? Как дела, мать? What? Are you okay? You need help? Not you guys, but there is like a person who came in kind of I can't tell if they just have no social if they have no oh Vishamanka is very pretty, yeah. If they have like no social awareness or skills whatsoever of this a Russian bot because I have no idea what they're talking about and why they're talking like that. I'm not even going to answer that. I'm just going to see if there is something gross that comes out. It's something deliberately gross, then we're going to block them. But so far, I'm just like very confused as to what their intention is. Uh, um, So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine reacted to the statement of the Hungarian Prime Minister. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine is waiting for the publication by the Speaker of the Hungarian Parliament, Laszlo Kever, a certificate on the state of his mental health. Further assessment of Mr. Kever's words directly depends on the conclusion recorded in the certificate, the Speaker said. So that's pretty great. Ромка, слава Україні! Героям слава! Aftermath of the night missile shelling of Kramatorsk in the Donetsk region. Oh, okay. So can we please block Just Picker because it is a Russian troll, and I honestly just don't feel like entertaining them because it's useless. Thank you. They're asking me if I'm sober today. More sober than the majority of people in Russia. You know, alcoholism levels there are pretty bad. So I would focus his attention if I were him on assessing whether people in his country are sober enough to understand what's happening. No, wait, is this? No, this is a different one. There is no more town of Liman in the Donetsk region. The invaders completely destroyed it. Photos with improvised MLRS, which are used by the armed forces of Ukraine against the invaders, appeared on the network. This multiple rocket launcher is a pickup mounted, stabilized launcher that can fire S8 80mm unguided rockets, among other things. Such a system, of course, is not a unique solution. Similar systems are used in various wars around the world and have proven their effectiveness. Wait. This video shows the flight of one of the missiles over the South Ukrainian nuclear power plant. A car cemetery in Mariupol. Someone left their vehicles here. Someone did not have a chance to evacuate.
И завод Лебедев.
Invaders water flowers in Mariupol to shoot a picture for Russian TV while residents do not have technical water and portable water is distributed every 2 days. Oh, potable water. Potable water is available once every 2 days. There is no delivery of technical water for hygienic needs at all. But we regularly water the lawns to have the background of what to shoot a movie about. Life has improved, said the advisor to the mayor of Mariupol, Petro Andrushenko. This is what they're doing. Also, I think I need to say something because I don't think you've heard this. All of the humanitarian aid that Russians are bringing into Russian occupied cities in Ukraine, they're bringing in the same trucks as they're taking dead bodies out in. Food in the same trucks as dead bodies. Let that sink in. Joseph Borrell responded to Putin, who blamed the West for the beginning food crisis. Russia is directly responsible for any shortfalls in the international grain trade, and rather than stop its aggression, it is actively seeking to shift the blame to international sanctions. Borrell also stressed that the EU will continue to support Ukraine. Uh, sorry, one second. In Kherson, a Russian soldier driving a Toyota Land Cruiser hit and killed 2 people. 4 more were taken to the hospital. In Ukraine, the so-called commander of the Army Corps DPR, Major General Roman Kutuzov, died. This was announced by the Speaker of the Odessa Army, Serhiy Bratchuk. It is reported that he died during the battle in the direction of Bakhmut-Lysychansk highway. Good. Mustafa Nayem revealed the details of the wounding of his brother Masi. My brother has a severe head and eye injury, was in a coma, occasionally regains consciousness. Doctors say he is now stable. Delivered to the Dnipro, to the regional Mechnikov hospital. Getting ready for the operation. Thank you for all your help, Mustafa wrote. Um, Wales Ukraine is 1-0, and Wales have won the soccer match against Ukraine, so Ukraine effectively did not qualify. Aftermath of today's shelling of the Darnitsa railway car repair plant in Kyiv. The Russian military fired 4 missiles at the enterprise. One of the workers was injured. Head of the Ukrzaliznytsia Alexander Commission denied the information of the RF Ministry of Defense that military equipment was allegedly kept at the plant. Hi guys, I don't have any answers to you about Zeno Solo. I know that a lot of you have been asking about her. We're not like, I don't know her. I've never spoken to her. I've I've seen her lives. I follow her. But I don't know her, so I have no answers. I have no answers for you, unfortunately. Uh, in the Donetsk region, paratroopers from the Dnipropetrovsk region destroyed an enemy Ka-52 helicopter with a shot from the Igla manpads, General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky and the team of the presidential office visited the Zaporizhia region today. Deputy head of the presidential office, Kyrylo Tymoshenko, reports. There, they talked with refugees from Mariupol. Ukrainian army control half of Severodonetsk and move on. This was announced by the head of Luhansk army Serhiy Haidai. According to him, the Russians are demoralized by the fact that they cannot capture Severodonetsk during 102 days. Our defenders control half of the city and have already cleared it. Hungary knowingly exchanges the souls of dead Ukrainian children for oil gingerbread, said Podolyak, reacting to the statement of the Speaker of the Hungarian Parliament, Laszlo Kever, about mental problems of President Zelensky due to the fact that he's decisive and sometimes harshly asks partners for support. The only problem country in the European family, Mr. Laszlo Kever, is Hungary, which blocks any reactions to Russian atrocities in Ukraine. Official Budapest should stop boasting of its cannibalistic position. Such statements will leave you not the best place in history books. Yeah, Hungary's government is really bad. It's really. An enemy plane has been shot down over the city of Oryachov in the Zaporizhia region. In Mariupol, 2 people died from a mine explosion. One of them is a boy of 8 years old. The mine exploded on the Pishany beach, which is adjacent to the Mariupol port, and which the invaders cleared of mines on camera so revealingly. 2 more deaths are on Ivashenko, 2 more deaths on the Russian military, 2 more victims of the war um, at the time when there is no shelling and bombing. Evening address of Volodymyr Zelensky. It is important to tell the truth. It is important to support art that is. It is important to support art that is for life, not for those who want to destroy that life. Ukrainians will remember the Lithuanian film director Mantas Kvedaravičius as a person who was just like that.
Вітаю вас з Києва.
One second. I'm going to. Wait.
Вітаю вас з Києва. І почну це звернення з короткої, але дуже важливої цитати. Якщо ми живемо в якомусь світі, ми чуємо якісь пісні або радіо, дивимося якесь кіно, це є всім тим, що створює нас, створює наш менталітет. Це слова Мантаса Кведаравічуса. Він сказав їх, коментуючи свій фільм, присвячений Маріуполю. Фільм, яким він хотів показати, як війна впливає на місто, як війна змінює людей. І це нібито прості слова, але вони дійсно про те, як визначається, яке життя у людей, які вони люди. Саме мистецтво, культура в усіх формах і усіма їхніми сенсами формують людей, освічують їх, або навпаки, закривають у темряві, у брехні. І це також може бути відповідальність кіно, книжок, пісень і радіо. Усього, що ми чуємо, бачимо, читаємо. Саме тому важливо нести правду, важливо підтримувати мистецтво, яке для життя, а не для тих, хто хоче це життя знищити. Українці пам'ятають Мантаса Кведаравічуса як людину, яка була саме такою. Він дійсно достойний золотого лебідя. Він цінував життя і завжди чітко висловлювався проти того, що загрожувало життю, на його погляд. А це був дуже уважний погляд. І прошу вас, щоб ваш погляд був таким же уважним, щоб ви так само підтримували життя. І щоб пам'ятали про Україну, про Маріуполь, про те, що ця війна, яка забрала життя Мантаса, війна Росії проти України, вона повинна закінчитись якнайшвидше. Дякую за увагу. Слава Україні!
Героям слава! On behalf of President Zelensky, Ukrzaliznytsia opened the doors of the destroyed Darnitsa car repair plant for Ukrainian and Western journalists. Journalist Serhiy Lashenko said, 3 shops were destroyed by 3 rockets. The 4th rocket formed a crater. There are no tanks there, contrary to the dreams of the RF Ministry of Defense. Volodymyr Zelensky visited the forward positions of Ukrainian defenders in Zaporizhia region. The head of the state got acquainted with the operational situation at the front line of defense. Volodymyr Zelensky also talked to the servicemen and presented them with awards and valuable gifts. Nearly 60% of the territory of the Zaporizhia region was temporarily occupied by Russian troops, said the head of Zaporizhia Regional Military District during a working visit to the region of Volodymyr Zelensky. Due to hostilities, 77 settlements have been de-energized and 2,701 infrastructure facilities have been destroyed. About 700 of them have been restored. In the last 2 weeks, the largest number of migrants come to the Zaporizhia region from the Kherson region and Mariupol. From today on, air television is unavailable in Donetsk and the occupied part of the region. There was propaganda and now there is no propaganda. This was announced by the advisor to the mayor of Mariupol, Petro Andrushenko. The funny thing about this is that there is no television broadcasting because of the damage by shelling, which was again staged by the invaders themselves in order to accuse the armed forces of Ukraine of shelling civilians. The new cover of the Polish magazine Frost, Putin in a pool of blood, and Macron and Scholz at the other side. Thus, Polish journalists condemned the constant, fruitless negotiations between German Chancellor and French President with Putin. This is exactly what I was talking about. Thank you, Poland, and everybody who is Polish, for constantly standing up for us. Thank you so much. This means so much. Night address of Volodymyr Zelensky. Briefly, an endless day. We have confidence and strength. I'm proud of everyone I meet. Glory to Ukraine. Imagine Dragons at a concert in Czech Republic. Oh, I forgot to. And this is a positive note on which this is all news I have for today from Ukraine. Thank you guys for being here as always. I do need to run pretty much now because I need to finish some things for the day. And I have a lot to do tomorrow, so I'm gonna try to finish them in the next 2 hours so I can go to bed at a decent time, not 4 a.m. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for supporting Ukraine first and foremost. Thank you for being so great. Mila is okay. We spoke briefly today. I think she's busy, but she seems fine. She's not nothing crazy is happening. She is pretty tired because she's had some health issues, and this is just I don't want to speak for her, but I can ask, and I will tell you guys next time that I'm on live. But Mila seems to be okay. Thank you for being here. Again, if you are not subscribed to Patreon, please consider subscribing because it does help me tremendously. And if you have a monetary ability to subscribe, please do. If you don't, of course, don't. And also, even if you do and you don't, also fine. But thank you so much to those who did consider subscribing, and for those who did subscribe. I do really appreciate every one of you. I also appreciate every one of you who didn't subscribe. But thank you very much, and I do really, 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 really value every one of you for all of the support for Ukraine and for the support of me. Thank you so much. Have a good night, guys, and I will see you tomorrow. I will try to do more lives than one. And bye. Are you doing okay? I'm okay. I'm okay. What do you mean? I'm okay. Bye, guys. Bye, guys. Thank you for contributing to watch hours on YouTube.